I have no desire to put a blowtorch to my arm, and I have no desire to sit here and keep taking this. I know we have to beat the globalists, but why won't the executive branch take action?
Well, and that's the thing. We have to understand, just like the people, the people who refused to convict William Penn, with him when he obviously broke the law that said that you can't have a church other than our official church. When they let him free, the judge threw them in jail. And they stayed in jail until they said, well, show us the law that we broke. And so they established habeas corpus. They also established jury nullification. We need to understand, first of all, that there are transcending principles that we got to stand for. That's what those jurors understood. Secondly, just like the founders of this country, they have to understand that it is worth it, whatever the price we pay. And so we know that we're going to be punished if we oppose power, if we speak truth to power. Julian Assange, they just came back and said, well, we just dropped the charges in Sweden. I've seen this over and over again from cases that I've reported, cases where you've had people railroaded by kangaroo courts. You had trumped-up charges against Ross Ulbricht. He ran a website. They wanted to shut it down because it was a commerce that was out of their control, Silk Road. So they said, well, he's got murder for hire. They pulled up those charges, but they never actually took him to trial.
It's more process crap.
They dropped those charges, Alex. The judge, when he convicted him for running the website, gave him 3 consecutive life sentences and cited the fact you did murder for hire. They never found him guilty of that. They never even tried him for that. And as soon as they put that judgment on him, that judge just let that go. We see that over and over again. And so people—
Let's be clear. There's no crime, but you're guilty of the conspiracy to commit crimes.
That's right.
Which didn't exist. I saw this in the Davidian case. The judge gave him 50-something years in jail. They were all innocent, hadn't pulled triggers. The court admitted that. They were found not guilty on the weapons charges, but they were found guilty of using weapons in the conspiracy to commit murder. And the appeals court just basically let that happen. I mean, think about that.
Well, they did to Schaeffer Cox, too. They came up with all the crime and said, well, you did this, and then there's a conspiracy charge. They eventually dropped the core allegations, but they kept the conspiracy charge and put him in jail for that. So we see this type of thing happening over and over again. We have to understand these principles. The thing we're talking about with William Penn, that's not ancient history. That was human nature, and that's why we have the Constitution. People were very well aware of how power could be abused, and now that is happening again. But we don't understand because we don't remember history, because we have our kids being indoctrinated by the school system. We don't understand what's at stake, and we got people who are too comfortable to stand up to this.
Beautifully said. And again, I go back to the acetylene torch parable, which I've never done that with acetylene torch, but I did when I was like 14. Hanging around with some bad guys. His brothers were older motorcycle gang people. It was like, oh, yeah. And I'd sit there and did it. My dad was like, what the hell have you done? Don't ever do that again. But a few times I did it and beat them, letting a whole cigarette burn down on your arm or whatever. And that's what this is like, sitting here taking this for supporting Trump and supporting America. And I'm willing to do it. But that's the paradox of why people are so angry.
That's right.
At Trump and at Barr. Yeah, we know. And the more crimes they commit, and the more kangaroo events, and the more we personally get persecuted, I don't feel sorry for myself. I want to fight. I want to see some action. I'm willing to take the heat, man, but I want the heat delivered back.
And why do we have a double legal system? Why do we have Hillary? Comey says that she committed multiple felonies, but we're not going to do anything. Instead, we lock up Christian Saucier, a sailor on a submarine who takes a picture of his bunk. He goes to jail for over a year.
Let's go further. On a 40-something-year-old submarine that was found in a trash heap. Something's going on there.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they throw the book at him.
Yeah, exactly. Now, President Trump pardoned him to clear his record, but he'd already served the time. But how do we have people like Hillary Clinton who violated national security, the religion of the state? All of our liberties and the Constitution have to be sacrificed on the altar of national security, but Hillary Clinton can't be even looked at.
That's because she's a part of that ruling guild in the 60s.
That's right.
Whole class got in of communists who the CIA and British intelligence put in, and the Clintons are both MI6 and CIA. They were brought into the Rothschild Roundtable groups. This is all admitted now. She was in Time Life books in high school. We have a copy. A listener sent it to us. It's somewhere here. I've shown it like 10 times on air or more. It said, this woman will be the president of the United States one day.
Yeah.
That's why they're pissed, because it's their project.
Well, look at what they can do in terms of the whistleblower. You will not speak his name. I mean, I said it.
And they're all a bunch of chicken-necked, not well-spoken. They all have trouble walking. They're all just pathetic.
Yeah.
But they're our ruling class because they're I don't want to call these men effeminate because they're not effeminate. They're weak men. It's an insult to women to call these men effeminate. They're perverts is what they are. It's a guild of perverts. Well, and I'm telling you, they're almost all pedophiles. And notice that's all coming out.
You know, we
like
talked about
Schiff's, almost all his friends are pedophiles. The lawyer for the whistleblower, he just loves to promote people that are pedophiles and defend them.
We talk about people being afraid of the system, being afraid to take a stand. They're afraid to say Eric Ciaramella or Eric CIA Ramella. They're afraid to say that on Fox News. They could even say, look.
Well, I'm afraid of bowing to them.
Yeah.
So I tell them I only fear God, not them, and I pray for justice to come upon them. David Knight, amazing job. 8 a.m. weekdays. This guy gets ready for 4 hours before the most researched show out there. David Knight.
Maybe not.